Many businesses are rapidly adopting AI tools, treating them like traditional SaaS products, but they're not. In this episode, you'll learn how to evaluate and determine if you need specific AI tools for a successful AI adoption. Let's accelerate your business. Welcome to the AI Accelerator for Business show, where you get the latest strategies, tactics, and information about the business benefits of artificial intelligence. My name is Carl Ye, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jeff Bradshaw. And today we're going to talk about what businesses need to know about buying AI tools.
Carl, this is an important topic because we see companies making investments into AI tools and really leading with the solution and not identifying the problems. And what we find is that some get very frustrated and they're wasting money on some of these tools that are coming out because some of these companies have great sales pitches.
You know, we were talking to a potential prospect a couple of days ago, and she was saying how she's been frustrated with either the hard sell or the clever sell of a lot of vendors, because I believe she's a more of an enterprise, starting to get into the more enterprise level, where there is one side the vendors know, and you know, a lot of AI companies there's an AI gold rush, and so they're trying to sell everything. But I also feel that they're trying to sell it as a typical SaaS model, which, you know, we've had conversation in the past where buying AI tools for businesses is very, very different than buying any other type of tech software.
Well, and I think that it's a gold rush, and everybody is tacking on AI to their solutions. And so these companies are getting sales pitches, whether it's an accounting program, an HR program, a law program, like whatever it is coming out, and we've got this AI tool, and they show them some really cool applications. Even Microsoft, I mean, we're seeing it with Microsoft with Copilot. A lot of companies making investments into Copilot and then coming back and saying, not really sure why we did this because nobody's using it or it's not meeting our need. Or another supplier comes out with a tool that's better 6 weeks later.
Some of the prices we're hearing too, like $50,000 a month, $75,000 a month, kind of really crazy of what the charging is and trying to lock in clients. But I think businesses have to understand AI is moving so fast. This isn't like a typical tech purchase. And I'll give you two reasons for that. The first reason is, one is the level of the speed of progress. So if you have a tool that can do one thing, and unless you're a major model like OpenAI, Google, Meta, Anthropic, unless you're buying their specific large language model to deploy, you have to be very careful about the very specific tools for a very specific use case. Because one of those large language models can come up with something that cannibalizes the use case, or a competitor could come up with something that is better than your use case. Or what I think I'm seeing is, as the models get better, the capability of said tools becomes even more so, that other tools will just build it into their functionality. We've never seen that before. This is as if, you know, you buy a Salesforce, but then something like a HubSpot not only does Salesforce just as well, but can also do a Gong or other tools all incorporated into their tool. Other companies have tried to do that in the past, but it wasn't good because they weren't great at putting these tools together. Like, they have one specific, great at one function, and they try to add different components, but it's just never as good as a company that is so focused on one function. But with AI, it's completely different, right?
You know, we encourage people that they should start looking into AI and figuring out AI integration plans and get in the game. But we also back that up with, do it carefully. Don't go in frantically and scramble and, you know, have 3 or 4 sales pitches on a solution and make a commitment and feel like you need to make a big commitment. And definitely don't make a long-term commitment right away, because like you say, there could be a better solution, a free solution, a more affordable solution, a more powerful solution right around the corner. And if you lock into a long-term contract because that was kind of the best pitch of the day, you're going to have regrets. And we've seen this. We've seen this continuously. And so when we go in and talk to clients, we always say, well, slow down here. Let's identify, you know, where some of those needs are now, but then let's think about the longer term. But don't bet the bank. Don't bet the farm. Like, just, you know, take your time and think about these things.
I think what's happening is you have a couple of AI adoption problems that stem from this. I think the first part is, if an employee or I guess what you would call your AI champion in your organization finds a tool that works specifically for their team or themselves, they're like, oh, you got to try this tool. And that's a danger because while it works for your team or your specific use, it may not apply for the rest of the business, or there's too many integration process challenges to actually leverage it. The one thing that on the other side, and I think even the bigger danger is executives fall in love with a specific tool and then try to apply that tool to the rest of the organization and essentially walking around with a solution and trying to find problems that the solution could fix.
It's kind of it's like prescribing a medication for a problem that you don't even know somebody has. You know, it's like telling somebody they need knee surgery when you haven't even had a discussion with them, and yet it's their shoulder that hurts. You know, and I think that the best way to deal with this is to, again, identify what those problems are, and again, in all the departments, because again, we find solutions that will fit multiple departments. You build one solution and it meets the needs of 3 or 4 departments, as opposed to that siloed approach like you just talked.
Yeah.
I think the other thing with these SaaS companies that are out there, let's just take an accounting application. They're trying to come up with an AI solution that works for thousands and thousands of clients and have kind of a one, solution fits all. And yet every company operates differently. And again, with today's technology, you might be able to find a solution that's better suited, or create your own solution that's a simple solution. We had the example of the company we met with that had the safety program that they paid $50,000 a year for. And they said it's so simple, but it's the only one that's out there. Well, now we're talking to them about using some of the AI tools to build a solution for themselves that might cost them maybe $25,000 or $50,000, but it's a one-time fee and they own it. Just an example of really kind of digging a little bit deeper before jumping on the latest AI sales pitch.
I do think that AI vendors are still trying to take that SaaS approach of, here's this tool. We're trying to meet as many, your total addressable market, trying to target all these companies. And I think one of the challenges of software as a service is how much customization will you allow your tool to be? So if you have a client like a Nike, I'm like, yes, of course, to keep Nike, we'd probably customize it forever. But if you have a smaller client, maybe not so much, because if you customize it too much, the original function of your tool becomes, how do you keep that customization for one customer and not for the other? And that means more people, more ability to, like, just the different challenges that SaaS companies face. The challenge to that, though, is, and we've seen this in some of our other videos, things like vibe coding. What happens when businesses can start taking an Airbnb, taking a Salesforce, building that customization for themselves and just running it, rather than having to ask a Salesforce, hey, could you customize it because that your base function doesn't really work for our company because of these reasons? Well, why don't you just build it?
And I think too, a lot of the companies, and it's funny because you laugh all the time when we see these solutions come out and they're just like a chat GPT wrapper. So all of the thinking is being done by a chat GPT, but somebody's come up and put a wrapper around it and said, well, this is your latest marketing tool, buy this XYZ product for so much a month. If you did a bit of investigation, you could just go to chat GPT and do the exact same thing yourself for $20 a month.
And I think that's the gold rush part too, right? Because we were hearing, it's like, when I was listening to that pitch, or not the pitch, but the explanation from one prospect saying, oh, this vendor wanted to charge us for this legal AI that could do this. And I was like, well, ChatGPT could do that, or a custom GPT, or even if you don't want to use an Anthropic project or Google Gems could do something that they're talking about, and you only have to pay $20 a month, not $50,000. And I'm sure there's a bunch of integrations, but I'm like, but if you wait 6 months, all these integrations will probably be there, or you can set up some sort of simple automation to integrate that. Why would you need to pay $50,000? That's the questions that I think businesses need to start asking. But unfortunately, they may not have the capability or the actual expertise in-house to know that.
Let's face it, it gets confusing. I mean, I'm in the industry and I have been for, a couple of years now, and I still get confused when some of the lingo and everything. So I can't imagine for a client who's, not that well versed on AI trying to make a decision on a solution, yet it sounds like it's great and it feels like it's going to fix a problem, but they don't fully understand it. And so, and again, I think it's that solution first, great sales pitches. And let's talk about the one that we get all the time. I mean, how often do we go into meetings and people say, well, what about Microsoft Copilot? We're going to buy Microsoft Copilot and roll it out, and it's going to be great. And then we say, well, what are you going to use it for? And they're like, we're not sure, but it's going to be great. Is that like...
Well, and this is not to bash Microsoft Copilot, because there are specific use cases that are pretty good with it. People do commend its data security, although sometimes I would challenge that. But at the same time, you're again leading with a solution and trying to find a problem it solves. And not everything that Microsoft Copilot can do or its capabilities meets that issue, right? And I think we keep hammering this home. You've got to actually go talk to your employees. You've got to talk to your teams on don't talk AI, talk about the processes, the workflows, all the things. We call it the eye roll task. What are the things that employees eye roll every week, day, month, quarter that they don't like doing? That's repetitive, that's boring, that's mundane for them. That's where AI can shine. But until you have those conversations, instead of trying to find that one tool, either to think that it can solve all the problems or try to find that one tool that you believe that your company has. And we've seen this as employees move from individual contributors to managers to directors to VPs and so on to the executive level. They're kind of removed from the front line day to day. So they can assume they know day-to-day operations, but without actually talking or have been there, they won't really know. And you have to have those conversations so you can understand. It's like, oh, this group in finance has very similar issues to this group in HR, to this group in sales. So when you put that together, oh, hey, what's a solution? What's a potential solution that we can have? Is it that $50,000 a month HR product that can't help marketing, that can't help sales, that can't help accounting, but if we just use a custom GPT and understand and train everybody to use it, maybe a $5,000 investment once or twice is better than a $50,000 monthly investment.
And that for us, hey, it's one of the services we offer. So this is maybe a soft pitch, but whether you use a group like us or you do it yourself internally, we highly recommend you do those discovery sessions with all of your departments individually. Find the repetitive, data-driven, predictive tasks. Figure out the tasks where you can use AI to improve your efficiencies by the 10 to 40%. If you start there, you're probably going to potentially avoid making some big investments into solutions that aren't going to meet your needs. And like I say, whether you use a group like us or do it yourself, we just encourage people to do that, because that then identifies where are the pain points, and now you can find the right remedy to solve those pain points.
Another thing you have to think about too, and this is where it gets me, is, and we've seen this, a lot of the times the problems, once you go through that discovery, many of the problems can be solved with free tools or cheaper tools than the things that vendors are pitching. And so a lot of the questions are, why did you buy that product? And I guess people don't know, they only know what they know. But it's important to do that discovery and then understand that a lot of your problems can be solved. It's simplicity over complexity, right? And those are the things that you have to think about. One more thing that I want to touch on is you have to also understand for businesses and maybe even IT folks, or the ones who are designated IT folks in your company, you have to really rethink how tech, especially in AI, how it's purchased, because of the very reasons that we talked about. The speed of AI, so you can't just have vendors lock you in, because there's probably going to be something better or more useful to you. Do your discovery, but also understand that there is no one-stop solution. So how many times have you heard, oh, Microsoft, they gravitate to Microsoft Copilot and then think that Microsoft Copilot can be the end all and be all. It's not like an ERP system or a CRM that does a wide range of tasks. It's better for you to do a bit of a more modular approach, hence finding specific problems and then look at which solutions that could solve them.
And I think that if that's the message we leave everybody with, is just, take your time, don't move too quickly, don't make huge investments, move slowly. You're going to be better off in the long run.
Enjoy today's episode and want to learn how you can implement AI in your company? Then please subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next episode.